Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 5th annual Never Seen It Oscar special. My name is Trent. I'm here with Betsy.
It's Oscar Sunday.
Yes, indeed, Betsy, and we are here back again for the 5th annual. Like I said, the Oscar special is here yet again.
I sometimes forget that we are coming up on our 4th anniversary of the podcast.
Yeah.
But it is our 5th Oscar special because we started this show around Oscar time in 2021.
Yeah, as kind of an experiment to kind of get our feet wet, we started off with some of the hardest stuff that we could possibly cover, and we covered all of the Oscar movies from 2020.
The Best Picture nominees.
Yes.
Well, we knew we hadn't seen them because 2020
Nobody
was a
saw
weird
movies.
year.
Yeah, nobody saw any of those movies in 2020.
For the few that even were released, frankly.
Indeed, and that year there were only 8. This year and in every other year we've done this, there's been 10. And as I've kind of discussed before, sometimes I wish they would kind of go backwards a little bit from the 10, but that's a different discussion entirely. Betsy, this special is going to be like every other special we've done. The main meat here is that we are going to be ranking from 1 to 10, all 10 Best Picture nominees from this year's Oscars.
With some other conversation probably thrown in at the end about what we expect might happen at the release of this recording tonight? ? We're doing this ahead of Sunday, obviously.
Of course. That's the magic of podcasting. You get to do that. But we've already covered all 10 movies. We've already seen all 10 movies. We have re-listened to all of our podcasts, and we have both written our own list. This is not a deliberation podcast. We are not going to be crowning the top 10 movies between the two of us. No, this is my list.
We're not picking a Best Picture that the podcast is giving a seal of approval or anything.
No, and this is not like a preview of what we think the Oscars are going to do. This is my list, and this is Betsy's list, ranked from 1 to 10. Reason we do that is because we are two different people. I might have a completely different opinion about an Oscar movie, or I might look back on a movie that we've already covered and completely change my mind about what I thought of it. And at the same time, I might have been sitting with a movie and discovered, you know what? I kind of like that movie a lot more. Who knows? But we do have some ground rules here as far as what we're allowed to do for this show. We are not allowed to rewatch any of the movies.
I wish we had time, but frankly, we're lucky to see them all once most years.
Yeah. And really the only other thing to go along before we start here is that I have no idea how Betsy ranked her 10 movies, and she doesn't know what my top 10 is. So going into this, I'm going to be completely surprised, maybe, at what Betsy's ranking is and vice versa. So I guess let's just hop right into it. We're going to go in alphabetical order here of the names of the movies, starting off with the movie Anora. So not every year we get to start with an A.
There is a nice continuity this year of A, B, C, D, E that pleases,
that never
pleases me deeply.
And there are some years there's like 5 Bs.
Right.
Anyway, Betsy, ladies first, where do you have Anora ranked on your top 10?
So I was trying to figure out where to put this movie. And upon listening to all of the episodes, I was weighing a lot of different factors. And ultimately, I have Anora at number 2. And I think that kind of happened in a weird de facto kind of way, because when I was looking at all of the movies that were landing in the middle, anywhere from about, 2 to 7, I restructured this list over and over and over again because they're kind of like this dash this dash this all on one line, and it's just one little factor or another bumping those middle movies up and down. But this one kept coming out consistently.
It kept pushing through.
It kept pushing through when I was weighing different factors. I just think Mikey Madison in that movie is such a fucking firecracker. And the movie made me really sad, but it also made me laugh really hard. I thought it looked great. I'm really happy with the nominations that it did get because I agreed with pretty much all of them when we watched the movie.
Yeah,
we did
it
months in advance of the nominations, so we were guessing.
Of all the nominations that it got, I don't think it was missing anything. I also don't think any of them were undeserved.
And when I think of all of the movies, one of the things I always consider when weighing this ranking, because you know I hate ranking things.
That's right. That's one thing we haven't mentioned yet. Betsy hates this process.
This is so hard for me because I just want everyone to get along. But when I'm thinking of what movies do I want to rewatch, which ones do I see myself rewatching, this one moves up the list a lot quicker than some of the other Best Picture nominees. So number 2 is where it ended up.
Well, Betsy, it really should be no surprise. I also have this at number 2.
Oh my God.
For everything that you said, I mean, this is a story, like I said in the episode, this is a story that never gets told, at least in its like raw emotional state that you get from watching a movie like this. You don't get stories like this. You don't get characters like this. And when you do have characters like this in your movie, they're dirty. They're the dirty stripper or the dirty hooker that you wouldn't have anything to do with.
Or in need of salvation or something.
Or it is a cleaned up version a la Pretty Woman, where it's the cleaned up pretty prostitute that you find on the street corner.
And you reform her because she needs it.
Exactly. There's nothing wrong with Honora in this movie. This is what she wants to do. This is where she owns herself and owns her body and everything like that.
She makes her own choices.
Yes. And
until one is made for her.
And the arc that Honora goes on throughout the entirety of this movie is so believable that I cannot help but completely sympathize with her position in life and the shit hand that life has dealt her, but also being strong in the process. So that's why it's my number 2. Moving on to the B of the group, we have The Brutalist. I went really back and forth about The Brutalist, and I kind of wanted it to be high on my list the first time I watched it, or at least the first half of the movie. I really wanted it to be high. But then I got to the second part, after the intermission, and it kind of started tumbling down the movie. The more I started thinking about the entirety of The Brutalist. It is a fantastically shot movie. It's a fantastically acted movie. I think Brady Corbet has a really good future in movie making. I just don't think that he needs to go so fucking hard the next time. I think Guy Pearce is one of the most underrated actors working today. And I think Adrian Brody needs to just do more in general. But Betsy, The Brutalist is only number 6 on my list.
I am actually in agreement with you on pretty much everything you said. I loved the acting, and that was what I think was keeping it higher on my list. I loved looking at this movie. When I've been doing this thing lately where I go to IMDb and just look at stills from the movie to try to spark some memory. And I just think it's a phenomenal looking movie. I thought the score was great, but there were just things about it that it didn't quite stick the landing. I'm with you. I wanted to love this movie. This could have, if it had been perfect from beginning to end, my number 1 or number 2 movie. It could have been really high.
Could have been a lot higher.
And I moved it around a lot. As I said, it's kind of been floating between a few numbers in the middle. I stuck it at 5. So I have it a little bit higher than you. And that probably has more to do with the other movies than this movie on its own.
Yeah.
But it made me feel many, many things. I was extremely emotional during the first half, but it just kind of ends. The movie just kind of ends. It leaves you with question marks intentionally. There's some hard shifts where it's like, this kind of comes out of left field, and I don't know how I feel about it.
There's a lot of unearned questions that you don't get the answers to, and some of the turns of the characters do not make any fucking sense, and they're not really paid off in some cases.
And maybe all that would make more sense if I had taken some time to listen to Brady Corbet talk about this movie. Like if he explained his vision, maybe I could get on board with this. I don't think it's one I'm ever going to just ignore forever. I think I'll go back to The Brutalist. When we watched it, the first thing I thought was, I kind of wish I could do this again.
When you have another 3.5 hours to spare, you mean?
Because all of these things I'm feeling might get either stronger or weakened by a second viewing.
Yeah, and I think because this is a fictional story, and this is just kind of coming from my own sensibilities here, because this is fictional, you had the ability to play around with these characters and these settings and the timeline and everything under the sun. But you chose to go these directions because this is not a historical drama in any way. Because he chose these directions for these characters, I think this is all intentional. And because I didn't respond positively to it, I can't give it extra points. I can understand if it was historical and maybe history isn't that interesting sometimes. I get that. But the movie also had kind of a troubled production, and maybe that has something to do with it. I have no idea. But in the end, it's kind of a middling movie amongst the rest of them.
If it were a different batch of movies, it might have ended up higher for me. But I think for the whole batch, when you look at them next to each other, this is where it belongs, is somewhere in the middle.
All right. Next up, we got a couple of C's. First up is A Complete Unknown, that Bob Dylan movie. Betsy, where do you have A Complete Unknown?
I have A Complete Unknown at number 9. Not because it is a bad movie, but when you have 10 movies, somebody has to go here.
My eyes are very wide right now. Okay.
And I said it when we watched the movie and we did that episode. The movie is fine. It is aggressively fine. It is a dad movie. It is well made. It is well acted. I think Timothée Chalamet is really good in it. I support the inclusion of the people who got in the supporting actor categories. I just kind of didn't care. Like, if we're being really blunt, I'm not going to put on A Complete Unknown. If we hadn't had to watch this movie, we would not have watched this.
I was really bummed when it got nominated. Like, I didn't want to fucking watch the Bob Dylan biopic. Fuck that.
And it's fine. It's a well-made movie. I just think there were 8 other movies that were better than it.
All right. Well, it comes as no surprise that A Complete Unknown is near the bottom of my movie, but it's the biggest surprise that you have it one lower than me. I have it at number 8.
You ranked it higher than me.
That's my surprise here. That's why my eyes were really wide just now.
You're like, I was more generous to this movie?
Yeah. So, I mean, if you really want to hear about my real opinion about Bob Dylan and mainly the Bob Dylan fans out there, go and listen to A Complete Unknown, the episode from, I don't know, a month or so ago. But I'm not going to rehash all that right now. A Complete Unknown is a copy, paste, and find and replace of all of the other biopic movies that have already been made. This director already made one himself. Walk the Line was made by this same guy. So I can't give him any extra points for originality or anything over and above Walk the Line, okay? The one really fantastic thing I can say about A Complete Unknown is Timothée Chalamet. He completely blew me away. I didn't know he had it in him. And the more time that has gone by, the more I have I've kind of cooled on him a little bit, but I re-listened to the episode and I was fucking beaming over Timothée Chalamet and his performance in the movie. So I can't say it's a complete pile of shit, but I'm with you. I don't know if I'm ever going to watch it again.
It's certainly not high on the priority list. If I look at all 10 of these, which ones do I want to rewatch the most? It's not this one.
Definitely not. But to transition to the complete opposite spectrum for a movie that I definitely want to watch again, next up is Conclave. Betsy, Conclave is number 1 for me. Yeah. Your mouth is open.
My jaw just dropped.
Conclave is fucking number 1. Because I said it in the episode, this is exactly my shit.
This is your kind of movie.
I don't give a shit that it's about Catholics or the Pope or anything like that. This is a political drama. And I am all about a political drama.
And it's
with
talking.
The backstabbing and the strategies and just all of the shit that goes into a political drama, but applied to all these fucking cardinals. I loved it.
You love dialogue-driven movies. Those
I
are
do.
your very, very favorite things. So I can't, like, I'm surprised and I'm not surprised that this is number 1 for you. I figured you would have this high. I also figured that this would be the biggest discrepancy between us, is this particular movie.
All right, well, where do you have Conclave, Betsy?
I have Conclave at number 7.
Oh my God.
It's not, again,
Wow.
this is not a reflection on the quality of Conclave, but when I am weighing all of the factors for the movies that rank probably 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, it's just tiny things that shove one up and down. This is what happened with Barbie last year, if you remember.
Yeah,
I think I had Barbie at number 7 last year.
You did.
And I think you had the same reaction you're having right now, where you just assumed I would have it much higher. But if I'm really factoring it, I watched Conclave. I listened to that episode. I was very positive about Conclave.
You were.
I kind of haven't thought about Conclave.
Oh my God. I'm honestly, I am more surprised at this result here than any of the other Oscar specials that we have done to date.
I figured
that's a huge difference.
It is a huge discrepancy. And again, I feel like this is one we will definitely be watching again because I know you and I know how you get about certain movies.
Yes.
I'm going to see this movie alone probably in the next 4 months because I will come home and you'll put it on. I will see it again within the next year. I will come home from something a year and a half from now and you'll be halfway through it.
Maybe.
Or you'll just text me, I watched Conclave today. I know you. But that is not me. There are other movies that I frankly just ranked above this. But when I was listening back, I think it's a great movie. We'll talk more about Conclave at the end of the episode and what its chances are. I'm loving the meme culture out of Conclave.
Yes.
I would say, if nothing else, that's what I've thought about Conclave, is the meme culture. But actually sitting and thinking about the movie itself, when I listened to that episode, I was like, haven't spent a lot of time rolling this one around in my head.
Man.
So it just had to go somewhere, Trent. I'm so sorry that it's way lower than yours. I figured it would be higher for you, though, just by default.
Again, I said it many times. This is exactly my kind of movie. And if I remember right, you were surprised at how well I was responding to the movie in the episode because you figured this is about Catholicism and cardinals and the Pope and all of this other arcane shit that I know nothing about, but you do.
You have no familiarity, no basis for it.
Yeah, when we covered the movie Dogma for our movie club on Patreon, you were also kind of marveling at my love of Dogma because for the same reasons. It's because it's about religion and I am not religious in any fashion. But it's how the movie is made. It is how all of these characters are reacting. And of course, this is a completely fictional tale. They had to change some rules of the Catholic law in order for the movie to actually exist.
For it to make sense.
Yes.
The movie could exist without it. But.
Well, yes, of course. But that all being said, I absolutely loved Conclave and I really want to watch it again. I'm as surprised as maybe you are that it is as high as it is because there are other movies that we're going to talk about here that I had a really great time with. But because this is my list and these are the movies that I think are the best made and the movies for me, this is me.
These are your feelings and you're allowed to feel them.
This is all me. So number 1, Conclave.
The people of the internet will be very happy with you because the internet loves Conclave.
I think the internet loves some other movies, but we're going to get to those later. Starting off, the D's, which there's only one of them. Betsy, talk to me about Dune Part 2.
So this movie is the interesting one in the group because we watched this in the theater way back.
Yeah, we did Dune Part 2.
Almost a year ago.
Yeah, we did Dune Part 2 as our 3-year anniversary special. We threw in an extra episode for you guys.
But that being said, it has been the longest time since we watched this movie. And as I'm going through this, I found that I had a similar reaction to when we watched the first Dune. They're fucking incredible movies. They are spectacle, and I have been invested in them in a way I did not expect to be.
Dune, the world, is so vast and so impressive at the complexity, but also the simplicity.
And similar to the year that the first Dune was covered for Best Pictures in our Oscar special, I have this at number 3.
Fucking A.
I almost put it higher. Almost.
I remember I had Dune Part 1 as number 2 that year.
And
I was very surprised at even my own ranking.
And I think I had it at number 3.
I think so, yeah.
I can't quite push it higher than that number because of just tiny factors. Like, just how did it make me feel? What were the things about it I liked?
And almost a year later, I still feel those feelings.
It is a spectacle of a movie. It has some of the most powerful stuff, like where I'm just mouth agape in the theater. And then when I'm thinking about it, I'm remembering that feeling. And some of these movies, that's the difference. I'm listening to our episode where I'm describing a feeling and I can't feel it anymore. Dune Part 2, I'm still feeling it.
When we did our end of the year awards, your best moment or sequence category went to Dune Part 2 when Paul is riding the fucking sandworm.
Did I actually pick that? I forget. I know it was a nominee.
Okay, it was a nominee at the very least, but still, those feelings stick with you because it just feels like it's a visceral thing coming through the screen. And thankfully, we were able to see Dune Part 2 on the big screen this time.
And I cannot wait for the next installment.
Yeah.
I think Denis Villeneuve is doing something absolutely amazing with these movies that I should not like. I should have no interest in this series. And yet here we are, 2 for 2 with these movies that I have it in my top 3.
Sci-fi is alive and well. I have Dune Part 2 at number 4. Only because there were a few other movies that were doing things that were more unique. Obviously, Dune Part 2 is a sequel to a thing that I already really liked.
Which certainly helps. You already have established goodwill.
Yeah.
But it could have been an utter failure.
And I think the reason why I like Dune Part 1 better is because it was teaching me all of the lore and all of the factions and all of the things in the Dune universe that I never expected that I was going to get into. I thought it was going to be a complicated mess of a movie that was going to completely go over my head. But no, I am bought in.
Listen, it is complicated, but it is not.
But I still got it.
But it is not a mess. That's the thing. You just have to be patient with yourself as you figure out who all of these players are.
And even for that first Oscar special where we talked about Dune Part 1, we still hadn't rewatched the movie. We had the same rules back then as we do now.
And that was like 6 months. So it was even less time. This is a year ago almost that we watched Dune Part 2.
You're right.
And I still stand by it is one of the best movies from last year. My friend has been catching up on the Oscar movies herself and hadn't watched Dune. And she watched Dune Parts 1 and 2 the same day or the same weekend. And now she is invested. It's just like, this is the kind of power these movies have when they are actually executed so brilliantly that you can get that kind of buy-in from people who never thought they would like Dune.
Agreed. Denis Villeneuve was robbed of a nomination. I'll just say that.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. Before we get into a big controversy here, we're at the halfway point. We're going to take a quick break for a word from our sponsor. We will be right back. This season, give yourself the gift you've always wanted. It's not a new car, and certainly not diamond jewelry. It's premium podcasts from the industry's leading connoisseurs of conversation. For only $5 a month, you will receive the most privileged access to their entire catalog. Patreon.com/NeverSeenItPod. Only the best for the discerning listener. And we are back. Speaking of controversy, the next one up is Emilia Perez.
I don't think you meant to do that before that
No,
pause.
I really didn't.
But you have to address it because it's just kind of part of it now.
It is the elephant in every single room out there talking about Oscar stuff, and I'm sure it's going to come as no surprise where we have Emilia Perez on both of our lists. I'm just going to speak for Betsy. Emilia Perez is number 10. It is the bottom of the list.
Well, no, let me speak for myself, Trent. I have it checks notes at number 10.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you for the clarification. Betsy, why don't you go first? Why do you have Emilia Perez at the bottom of your list?
Okay, so it's very, very hard to talk about this movie because I had heard about the movie before I watched it. And there is an alternate universe that exists where I got to watch this movie knowing nothing about it. But we don't live in that universe. We live in this one.
Yeah, you had your perception kind of spoiled and
did.
colored in already before you laid eyes on the movie.
Now, not to the extent that anybody watching this movie, say, a week ago maybe would have. Like, if you're a person on the internet and didn't watch Emilia Perez until the last, 7 days, you were going to have a vastly different viewpoint than I did a couple of months ago.
Not necessarily, but I mean, think about this. If you had zero idea what the quote-unquote controversies were going in to see Emilia Perez, whether they be in the movie or outside of the movie, we are not going to rehash any of those today. If you didn't know anything about that, you might actually go into Emilia Perez and have kind of a good time. You could come out of it saying, hey, it's a musical. There's some happy stuff. There's some sad stuff. There's this trans person. It's maybe an inspiring story of somebody going through a transition. And you could come out of that feeling okay. But if you knew everything that has come out, not only about the production of the movie, the makers of the movie, and one of the stars of the movie, if you knew all that going in, your opinion was going to be colored.
And referencing that same friend who has been watching all these movies, I asked if she had watched Emilia Perez, if she knew anything about it. And she did not, and she had not. So I said nothing. I left her alone to discover the movie on her own. And she actually found it to be pretty wild, but kind of liked it. Then immediately afterwards, started figuring out all the things that people have been talking about this movie, and almost immediately started second-guessing her own opinions. And that's the effect this movie has. I think I was as kind as I could be under the circumstances listening to the episode, but thinking about it in the weeks that have passed, and more and more and more information comes out of it. It would be one thing if you thought this movie was made with good intentions by people who cared. You could forgive a lot of its flaws. But the farther down the Oscar campaign cycle and the more that has come out about the movie, it gets harder and harder to defend it.
Yeah, and I was more in the camp of I didn't really know anything about Emilia Perez. I just kind of knew that there was a backlash about it. I didn't know anything about the content. I didn't really know anything about the outside stuff that, again, we're not going to address here. But I still came out of the movie kind of thinking it was a convoluted mess. And it treated serious subjects unseriously. So even looking at those portions of the movie, it kind of damns it out the gate. But then you add on everything else, plus the fact that the Academy deemed to nominate it for the most Oscars of any other movie. It tied some of the best movies of all fucking time in the amount of Oscars it got. And I credit that to the good people at Netflix for throwing their weight around and throwing their money around and trying to get the Academy to recognize the one movie that they're submitting to the Oscars. And that right there is enough to just kind of make you sick at the entire process of Oscar nominations.
And not to mention that Netflix had other movies this year that they could have pushed, and this is the one they decided to back. This is the one they decided, we're all in, we're pushing this. They want those Oscars because it legitimizes Netflix as a platform, and they've been trying for years to get a Best Picture, and they haven't managed to do it yet.
And that's fine. There's plenty of studios out there who have made incredible, incredible movies that have been nominated for Best Picture. They just haven't won. So what? You still got people talking about your movie. Some movies that win Best Picture don't fucking deserve it. And would you rather have a movie win that doesn't deserve it? Or would you rather have a movie that everybody can get behind and say, yes, that movie deserved to win Best Picture? Emilia Perez is not one of them. But that's all I have to say about that. Betsy, let's move on to a different movie. Next up is I'm Still Here, the movie we just covered last week, the movie that has been eluding us the entire Oscar season. We finally were able to see this in the theater. Betsy, where do you have I'm Still Here?
The last movie we cover is always the hardest because it's that recency bias thing where you're like, am I just tired of watching movies, or is this really my favorite movie? Is this my least favorite movie? How do I really feel about this?
You've also had less time to really ruminate about it
Yeah.
and just have it sit with you and consider it. Like, hey, Dune came out almost a year ago and it's near the top of our list. So it's a lot harder to consider a movie that we just did a week ago. But continue.
But that being said, if you go back and listen to that episode, I said in the episode, I liked it. I didn't love it. Could that change if I had had time to watch it a second time? Could that have changed if I had more time to really consider it between the time we watched it and recording this special? Maybe. But all things considered, with the other movies as they are, I have I'm Still Here at number 8. It is a good movie. It may even be a great movie. I don't think it left the impact on me that it has for a lot of people. And other movies that I saw this year had more of a punch right out the gate for me.
We had a movie similar to this a couple of years ago. It was Women Talking, and that was a movie we did literally the Wednesday prior to the Oscar special coming out.
So
And
an even shorter time.
An even shorter time. We actually had to put that episode out late because we watched it the Wednesday it was available on Amazon for streaming. But that one, we ended up having really, really high on our list. I think
that was my number 1.
Was that number 1 for you?
Yes.
Yeah, it was high on my list too. So that one is the exception that proves the rule here about recency bias and whatnot. But, I'm kind of there with you. I'm Still Here at number 9, not because it's a bad movie or anything like that, but something that I read or heard or something this week since we watched the movie. It's as if I'm Still Here is a documentary with actors in it playing the real people. And it kind of is to a point. It's a dramatization at the very least.
See, I never interpreted that movie that way.
I didn't either, but when I think about it like that, it kind of is, okay, that's an interesting interpretation. Like, there's not a lot that happens in the movie. It is this very, very strong character and a very strong woman who really did exist. All these things did happen to them and the family. But is it really deserving of a Best Picture nominee? I just don't think so.
I'm not upset it's here. I'm glad it's here because it got us to watch the movie. We would never have watched this movie otherwise.
Totally, yeah.
But I also know that there was a lot of these movies that were hovering right around the edges of getting a nomination. And would we have liked something else more? Maybe. I'm not mad it's here. It's just kind of difficult to place this because I saw it so recently and it didn't have the emotional punch that it has for some people watching it. Not for me anyway.
Yeah, at the very least, we got to see that lead actress in the movie that she won the Golden Globe for, which, again, she just kind of came out of nowhere and won that award. I'm like, okay, let's see what this movie is all about. And I totally agree that she deserved to win that award because she's a fucking badass in that movie. All right, next up, we're skipping ahead in the alphabet. We're up to Nickel Boys now. And of all 10 movies, I think I had the hardest time placing Nickel Boys. This is another recent movie. This is another very unique movie. This is also a movie that only got 2 nominations out of everything that it could have been nominated for, that being Best Picture and Best Adapted Screenplay. No acting nods, no technical nods, no director, no nothing else. So it's definitely one of those, sum of its parts movies, but because of the uniqueness, I couldn't put it near the bottom. But because I didn't really have a huge reaction to it either, I couldn't put it near the top. So I've got Nickel Boys at number 7.
Meanwhile, I had kind of a different interpretation of that experience than you did, where it is taking a big swing the way it is made. This is a stylistic movie, and it could have really bombed. It could have been completely ineffective. I would have been confused. I didn't know what was going on. But that was not the case at all. I knew exactly what was going on at the times, you're this character and then you're that character, that first person thing. There's a point to it. And I have never seen a movie like this. This is not the kind of thing where people wake up and think, I'm going to make a movie and it's going to be from the first person perspective.
Yeah, and because this is adapted from a book, where did that idea come from? Because you can't do that in a book unless like every chapter you're switching between people and it's the same scenes over and over again from different perspectives of the character saying I.
It's easier in a book than it is in a movie. And this could have been a failure, but the point is it wasn't.
It worked. It totally worked.
And when I was weighing the pros and cons of all those middle ones, I was having the same problem as you. I moved this one around a little bit.
This is so tough.
Ultimately, I put it at number 4, though.
Okay.
I put this higher than you did. And notice, it's higher than The Brutalist because where The Brutalist is taking swings and that doesn't always stick the landing, I felt like Nickel Boys did. I feel like
it's a smaller kind of a movie as well.
Yeah, I think the things it was trying, it succeeded at. And I found myself surprised by it. And yes, it was recent, so it's very fresh for me, but it has stuck with me. And I was very, very impressed by the movie. And when I had it lower at like 5 or 6, I was like, that doesn't feel right. This movie should be higher. It's just the kind of movie that, again, should be nominated by all rights for several more Academy Awards. But because it's the sum of its parts, it managed to get that Best Picture nomination because enough people saw this movie and said, all the things it's doing, I love, and it's one of my favorites this year. So I'm really glad it's here because I got to see this movie and be impressed by it. Was it the one I was most impressed by? No, but I was impressed by it. So it's number 4.
That is a fair assessment. But Betsy, we got to move on to the one that I think, you mentioned the internet earlier when talking about, Amelia Perez and Conclave and these movies that just kind of came out and the internet just grasped onto them and would not let them go. Next up is The Substance. And I can't even believe that I'm saying the title The Substance in our Oscar special, because what the fuck is a movie like this belonging in the Best Picture conversation at all? But here we are. The Substance. Betsy, I have a feeling I know where this is, but tell the people where you got it.
Listen, we have 2 movies left. You've got a 50-50 shot, and I haven't said what my number 1 movie is yet.
I know. What do you got?
It's The Substance, Trent. I have it at number 1.
Fucking A, yeah.
When I listened back to that episode, I was reminded of how many things this director, who also wrote the movie, is doing. The amount of topics that you're hitting, and she's coming out swinging. This director said, I'm making a fucking movie, now get out of my way. And it has themes about being a woman and aging and addiction and the obsession with youth and beauty. And it's also a horror movie. And it's also like the freakiest, funniest, weirdest movie I have seen in a really, really long time. And it's another one, as you said, I keep seeing it on the internet. It's always present. It is an ever-present movie for us. Even you and I make references to The Substance ever since we watched it. Once in a while, we just sprinkle them throughout. When we watched this, did I think it was going to be my number 1? Absolutely not. But when I look at all 10 movies and the feelings I had watching them, and how much I have thought about them, and how it looks, and how it sounds, and how I reacted to all of these movies, I did not have another experience remotely resembling that we had when we watched The Substance. It is so confidently done, and it sticks the landing. That's another movie that we're swinging hard, and it could have failed. It could have been really bad.
It maybe should have failed by all of the powers working against it.
Best Picture nominee, produced by Mubi, of all things. This movie shouldn't have gotten made for all the struggles it had. All the compromises that the producers said, no, change this, make that different. But the director stuck with her guns. You got a great star in it. You've got an up-and-coming star in it. And it just works. It's not for everyone.
Definitely not.
This is definitely not going to be a lot of people's number 1 for all of the reasons I just said. And then some more I'm not going to describe in detail. But as I was going through this reviewing process, I just never found another movie that surpassed it. It came to the top of the list, and that's where it stayed.
The highs of the movie are so high, and whatever lows that you might pull out of it don't stick around. That's really my reaction to The Substance. Because the highs are so high, yeah, there's some questions that I don't really have answered here, but are they important to the grand scheme of the plot of The Substance? No. I had an experience watching The Substance, and that's why I have it at number 3.
Which is still, for a movie that you weren't really that keen on watching to begin with,
I was
incredible.
actively trying to say, no, I don't want to do The Substance for our Never Scream It. We ended up doing Late Night with the Devil as the modern horror movie for Never Scream It last year, when the smart money would have been, hey, you should probably watch The Substance. You'll get a lot more people listening to your episode. But in the end, I think The Substance is fucking phenomenal, and that is another movie. The two things that we have in common here, that is a movie, and Conclave is a movie that we absolutely will watch again.
100%. Trent, I know The Substance is coming back to the theater. Don't think I haven't thought about asking, hey, could we go see that? Because it'll be after the Oscar special.
It's true. It's true. And hey, if it wins, we'll maybe get to this at the end. If it wins, holy shit.
What a moment that would be.
What a moment. All right, Betsy, we got one more.
A little anticlimactic after that, but you know.
Yeah. So we got one more left to talk about here, and it's the one that has probably made the most money out of these 10 movies. It's been seen the most by people, and again, it's got a huge internet following, I guess. Of course, I'm talking about Wicked. Now, Betsy, if people remember our episode about Wicked, I was more apprehensive about watching Wicked than I was The Substance, because by the time I watched The Substance, I had already absorbed a lot of the internet discourse about it and was convinced, okay, yeah, we should probably watch The Substance.
You were bought into the fervor of that one.
I was, but I knew what Wicked was, and I didn't want to see Wicked. I didn't want to have to go and see Wicked, because Wicked is not a movie for me. Wicked is a movie based on a legendary Broadway musical that was based on a fictional story that is an extension of The Wizard of Oz from a fucking 100 years ago, okay? How is it that a movie like that is going to be in my wheelhouse? But I came out of it kind of beaming. I really was impressed by Wicked, and I only have Wicked at number 5 because, hey, it's the last one on my list, but that is the movie that I was the most surprised that I enjoyed as much as I did.
And in another turn of events, you have that movie slightly higher than I do, because I have it at number 6.
I'm shaking my head here.
I've said it this whole episode. Everything in the middle can move up or down based on tiny things. I would say that of all the movies we watched this year, I cried the hardest at Wicked. Like, once I got to the end of the movie, I was just like, and I'm like weeping in the theater, right? But like Conclave, I saw the movie, kind of moved on. Yes, it's on the internet. I see all the memes and things, and people are talking about Wicked. I'm aware of it, but I haven't really sat with it. I haven't really revisited it. I haven't really been compelled to spend more time with it since we watched it. And that was, almost 2 months ago now, because we watched it on New Year's Day. And of course, the other factor with it, this is part 1. They dropped that from the title, but it is only half of it.
Do you think that is a contributor to it?
I think it's part of it, yes. Where with Dune, I remembered the events from Dune, not having seen it in 2 years. I rewatched it before we watched Dune Part 2, but those movies stuck with me. Wicked hasn't stuck with me the same way. It's not that I'm disliking it or revisiting my feelings thinking maybe I didn't like it as much as I did. I definitely liked it, and I'm definitely excited about the second one. But when I'm weighing all the 10, I couldn't feel good about putting it higher. I might end up next year, because I assume we'll be talking about this movie again when part 2 comes out, and that one is going to go up higher on my list. Who knows? But factoring everything in, I just thought there were other movies I liked a little bit more for various reasons. So it ended up in the middle.
Yeah, I don't really think I can say anything against what you're talking about, because as we keep on saying, this is a weird year. We keep on saying that. But the middle of both of our lists here can be switched around, and I could make an argument to put Wicked at number 4. I could also make an argument to put Wicked at number 8.
If we're ranking them by tiers, yeah, it would be number 1. Like, I literally was sobbing in the theater on more than one moment in that movie, which was more than I can say for a lot of the movies on this list.
Totally. And you're coming to a movie like Wicked for a completely different reason than you would come to a movie like Anora. Anora was the other movie that I think both of us got really emotional at the very end of it. But whereas Wicked is a very fun, very colorful, very busy, for lack of a better word, movie, Anora is a small story with a small cast with not really a message, but it is a character piece. Wicked is just a spectacle.
And if you haven't seen the musical, which neither of us has,
Yeah.
we're left with only part 1. So I can only judge it based on what I'm seeing.
Yeah, and that's fair. Okay, well, Betsy, that is all of our 10. So why don't we go down the list here from 10 to 1. What is your top 10 for 2024?
So my ranking of Best Picture nominees this year is number 10, Emilia Perez. Number 9, A Complete Unknown. Number 8, I'm Still Here. Number 7, Conclave. Number 6, Wicked. Number 5, The Brutalist. Number 4, Nickel Boys. Number 3, Dune Part 2. Number 2, Anora. And my number 1 of the Best Picture nominees for 2024 is The Substance. Go figure.
Oh, man. All right, my list. From 10 to 1, Best Picture nominees from 2024. Number 10, Emilia Perez. Number 9, I'm Still Here. Number 8, A Complete Unknown. Number 7, Nickel Boys. Number 6, The Brutalist. Number 5, Wicked. Number 4, Dune Part 2. Number 3, The Substance. Number 2, Anora. And number 1, Conclave. That's a weird fucking list.
It's a weird year.
Yeah,
like,
it really is.
This is one of the things that before we started recording, we were like, okay, what are we going to talk about in this episode? Because obviously, yes, we're going to rank the movies, but what we're picking isn't necessarily what we think is going to win.
No, not at all. This is a personal list. I come at this a little bit different than Betsy does, where I am like the stuff that personally I might pick as my favorite. I say my favorite movie is different from the best movie. And of these 10 Best Picture nominees, I'm trying to come at this from an objective quality measure, but throwing in my own personal curveballs on top of it.
And I do that in reverse. I usually go with what I feel and then throw in some of the how did it look and have I thought about it and the technical, like the direction and the acting and all that stuff.
I tend to rank mine as if I were an Oscar voter to a point. It's not completely following that kind of rubric, but you know, we do things a little bit different.
Trent, according to the internet, if we were doing it by an Oscar voter, we'd just vote for who we like and not even bother with the movies.
Or who paid us off the most.
Exactly. Who campaigned the hardest, quote unquote, buying me gift bags.
Yeah. Because it is a completely different slate of movies. I'm in a different mood. I'm in a different mood this year than I was, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago. And based on the slate of movies, I'm feeling not really great about this slate, honestly.
I think that this is a lot of good movies, but when you actually have to sit down and rank them, I suddenly was finding that there wasn't anything great.
Nothing blew me away at all.
No, nothing where I'm just like, this is the best movie of the year. Where we have had a clear frontrunner year after year for the last several, we kind of knew going into Oscar night, well, yeah, that movie's gonna win.
Yeah, like last year, Oppenheimer was the clear frontrunner the entire Oscar season, and it was no surprise that it won everything.
And last year, we liked everything. Like, the struggle we had ranking was, how do I put this one higher than that one because
I don't
I
want to
still
put this
love
at number
this.
9 because I think it's a great movie, but everything has to have a number next to it.
Meanwhile, this year, I feel it's a little more nuanced than that. I liked it, but it wasn't great, so I don't feel good putting it any higher than this, but it has to go higher than something.
Yeah,
and
I only had
that's a weird mentality to be in.
Yeah, I had struggles with like 2 movies to put on the list, but other than that, I kind of put it all down and I stopped thinking about it.
But like for me, when we started this, I didn't have a clear favorite. I really didn't. I did not know I was going to end up with The Substance at number 1 because there wasn't a feeling I had about this movie is my entire personality now or anything like that. I don't have a horse in this race. I usually have one movie where I'm like, I hope that wins. I love that movie. And this year has been a little bit more of a struggle to find that.
Yeah.
It's not that I couldn't have that with The Substance, but I've not been championing it the way a lot of people have.
But then again, kind of every year I can go my top 3 I can swap around. I could have any one of my top 3 as my number 1. I could make an argument for Conclave, Honora, or The Substance, honestly. Then the middle part, the next 4, I can swap around. Doesn't really matter. And the bottom 3, except for the way bottom, I can move around.
And I say this every year, and one of these years we're going to do it. I would love for us to go and revisit all of the Oscar-nominated Best Pictures from one of the years since we've covered it, just to see how our opinions have changed. Just by going through it again, do they still end up in this order, or is it drastically different because I am a different person now that I'm watching these movies a second time? Because a lot of them we haven't watched since it got nominated for Best Picture.
Then again, we didn't really rewatch a whole lot of movies that we do for coverage anyway, so
just across the board.
That's a moot point. But I do get your point that this year was definitely weaker than previous years. It's not a bad year, it's just weird. And I did want to dabble into some of the other categories here. It's the same kind of thing, except for Best Supporting Actor. There isn't a front runner for any of the other major categories here.
The only lock at this point is Kieran Culkin and probably Zoe Saldana.
Only because she's been winning a lot of the other awards.
No one else is stepping up.
And who knows if people have soured on the movie entirely.
But it doesn't seem like it because all of those controversies have been coming out and then it's while people are still voting and she's still winning. So she seems to be free of it. I don't think it's affecting her.
Who knows?
But there's still a chance that Best Actress could go a couple of different ways. I think it's probably still going to be Demi Moore, but
I hope so.
I could be wrong.
I hope it is going to be Demi Moore.
And again, what the fuck?
Yeah.
We're talking about that for The Substance, and we did not think we'd be here having this conversation when we first sat down to watch that movie.
I mean, if she does win, if nothing else, it is redemption for Toni Collette not even getting fucking nominated for Hereditary that year.
And for 25 other actresses who could have and
Yes.
should have probably been nominated for an Oscar for a horror movie. But 2024 was a big year for horror, and I will be really curious if she pulls off the win, what that does for the genre moving forward.
Or what that does for actors and actresses agreeing to be in these genre movies.
Yes. Are more high-profile people going to go, oh, there's some really interesting work happening over here, and they're having a lot of fun in it. There was a conversation that maybe Hugh Grant could sneak in there for Heretic because he made a horror movie where he's having a fucking ball, and everybody's like, look at what he is doing.
Yeah.
We should pay attention.
And because the Demi Moore character is kind of a reflection of Demi Moore, the person, I think it is a perfect melding, and I use that word. It is a perfect melding between actress and character that it could not have been anybody else but her, so it works perfectly.
Remember, they are one, Trent.
They are one.
They are one. Bringing it back to other Oscar things, I still think it's probably going to be Adrian Brody who ends up walking away, and I would be thrilled because I thought he was just really exceptional in The
I would be
Brutalist.
completely okay with either one of those guys getting it.
Yeah, Timothée Chalamet, though, just won the SAG Award, and there's sort of if you look at the historical context of who wins what awards and then ends up winning the Oscar, there is some fair consistency, but it's not always accurate. And I don't think anybody expected Timothée Chalamet to win. And if he wins an Oscar, it's setting a new precedent because he'd be the youngest male actor to do it in that category. So another reason to vote for him. I'm not going to be mad with either outcome because, as we said, the best thing in A Complete Unknown is Timothée Chalamet.
100%.
But let me ask you this, Trent. The one we haven't touched on is, what do we actually think is going to win Best Picture? Because I still have no idea how to fill out my ballot. We are going to an Oscar party, and I played a win, Trent. And I have gotten in like the top 2 and 3 spots a couple years in a row.
Yeah, we've done this 3 years in a row, and you have gotten at least top 3 every single time.
I'm gunning for number 1, but I don't feel confident about my chances this year because this year has just been really, really hard to predict, with people a few weeks ago saying it's going to be Amelia Perez because preferential voting and everybody loves it. But then all this shit about that movie comes out, and now other movies are winning, and I'm just like, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen on Sunday. And there's a part of me that loves that because I don't like the Oscars being so predictable. I don't like being able to fill out a ballot and know what's going to happen. It's fun for me to win, but
Yeah, I agree with you that I would much rather go into the Oscars being completely surprised by everything. By everything, even like all of the acting awards, all of the major awards.
Nothing that we are saying happens.
Even some of the lower tier Oscars, if you want to be mean about it, even those, there are some prizes in there as well. So I would much rather sit down and watch the Oscars and be completely surprised and delighted. I want to be delighted watching the Oscars because all these people work so fucking hard at their craft, no matter what it is. And I really do hope, and I know this is maybe a little controversial, but I really hope that they continue to allow some of these more technical awards for those guys to go up there and make their speeches because they just make me so happy.
When the nobodies, quote unquote, win Oscars, it's my
when they
favorite.
have to come down from the fucking cheap seats to come all the way down to the stage to accept their Oscar.
And they usually have some like tchotchke in their hand relevant to their movie. Like the guys from Godzilla last year had little Godzillas with them.
Yeah.
It's so fun. This is the biggest night of their career. It's not like Meryl Streep, who's been nominated so many times that she could take it or leave it. She doesn't even have to go to the ceremony. It's no big deal. Right. This is like the moment. This is the biggest moment of their entire lives just to be in that room.
And what's really great about all of these categories, not just the major ones, all the categories are voted by the people who work in those fields. So all of the visual effects artists vote for the visual effects Oscar. So you're being voted for by your peers. And that is the biggest vote of confidence that you could possibly have.
And everybody is your peer when we're talking about Best Picture, which is why everybody gets to vote in that category.
Right.
But it does mean it makes it a little unpredictable this year.
Definitely. And we always talk about the fact that, hey, the Golden Globes are more international, which is maybe why Amelia Perez was able to sneak in that one for drama, but then the Substance fucking won for comedy. So because the Oscars is more US central, I kind of have no idea. I know it ain't gonna be fucking Amelia Perez. But then again,
you say that, but
then
there's
again,
a fear I have because the preferential voting is really bizarre.
I know, but we also said the same thing about Licorice Pizza that one year, and that got bupkis.
I'm much more worried about this one, though.
I don't think so.
Trent, Amelia Perez is winning Oscars. It will be an Academy Award winning movie. I don't know what for,
I'm just
but
glad
it will
that
win.
they're not doing the musical performance this year because like 3 of them are from that fucking movie.
They are going to be doing a Wicked medley though for reasons. I don't know.
Because Wicked is actually fun and interesting. Anyway, all right. That's going to be the end of our Oscars special. I got nothing else to talk about, Betsy. We're going to go and watch the Oscars tonight. If you're listening to this on Oscar Sunday, we are invited to an Oscar party. Thank you to the folks who put this on every year and for inviting us. If you're listening, thank you again. But I think we're going to leave you guys with just a bit of a tease for what we're going to be doing next week and for the remainder of March. Hey, it's March, guys. But the last couple of years, we follow up our Oscar special and all of the Oscar movies with a series of movies that have nothing to do with the high quality and art of maybe an Oscar caliber movie.
We enjoy a hard pivot.
We do. And Betsy, for the remainder of March, we're going to be doing something we have talked about doing since the first fucking episode of this podcast. I guess I'm just going to say it. We're going to do a bad movie series. No extra themes attached to it. These are just movies that are famously bad.
From the best of the best, where we hand out golden statuettes, to I don't know what. It pains me, Trent. This is going to hurt my feelings in some way.
We're going to have fun with it. We did Stripper Sunday last year, and that was one of the funnest things we ever did.
It's true. I'm going to eat my words later.
That's right. All right. Well, that is going to be the end of our Oscar special. Like I said, until next week, my name is Trent.
My name is Betsy.
And this has been Never Seen It.
Bye.